Jeff, you fucked a married witch. It's all movie. Oh God, I forgot what the movie thing is called. All films worth watching. Damn, I was so excited. So excited I screwed it up. So excited I screwed up. I don't even know the name of the podcast. We're keeping it in.
I was like,
I
you
don't
have to
do
keep
second
that.
takes. All films worth watching. We're going to watch all the films that are worth watching, or at the very least, we're going to watch a bunch of films, and then we'll let you know whether they're worth watching or not. This week, we're doing 2020's Bad Boys for Life. Uh, back inside our hidey holes in different parts of the country, you have a new hidey hole. It looks pretty familiar. I recognize some knickknacks in the background.
Well, it's all my same stuff. I didn't get all
Yeah,
these
for
stuff.
sure.
I just moved it 2,500 miles.
Yeah, the wall's different, but the heart is still there.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, Jeff just moved from Boise, Idaho to Portland, Maine. How
Hmm.
was the trip? How are you? How is Maine?
Maine's awesome. I'm tired. We don't quite have all of our furniture and stuff yet, so it's still a little bit like camping or being on vacation where we're still living out of boxes to some degree. So getting a little
Sure.
tired of that. Really looking forward to getting all of our furniture, which we're getting this week. So that's nice. But happy to be here. Heart is full, body is tired. Is the way to put that for sure. Also, uh, really make sure you want to move all the way across the country before you decide you're going to move all the way across the country because it's a pain in the ass. Every step of it is a pain in the ass.
Oh, dude, I feel you. I moved to the middle of the country, and I'm still moving to the middle of the country. There's still stuff in Idaho that like I'm trying to figure out how to get back here without
Right.
spending a fortune. It's a
Yeah.
nightmare, man.
Yeah, it's a big pain in the ass and it's very expensive. So hopefully it's
Yeah,
something I only do once. I ain't no quitter. My mom didn't raise no quitter. So even if I hate it here, I'll never tell anyone.
perfect. The perfect approach.
Yeah, never let them know how you feel.
Yeah. I'm back in Kansas City. We were, again recording together the last few months because I was working in Boise on a musical that is finally closed, and I heard did really well. Sold out a couple of times. You came and saw it.
I did. I went and saw it on preview preview night, the night before the official dress rehearsal. It was wonderful. I was in that
Yeah,
play
nice.
myself 13 years ago at the same college, so lots of fond memories.
Yeah, talking with they have most of the same staff there that were teaching when you and I were in undergrad, and the whole time they were like, "Yeah, the only thing I remember about the last one is Jeff." Like that's all we would talk about.
Yeah.
You had a football helmet
It was
that
a
we
bike
particularly
helmet.
liked.
Yeah, bike helmet.
Oh, it's a bike helmet. Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
if that
but
would play as well these days as it did 13 years ago. Having the like eccentric poor kid wear a bike helmet. I don't know. It read
we
to me as like an indicator of like maybe some mental deficiency at the time.
sure.
So
Like I
I don't
mean,
know if that would
he
read
for
now.
yeah, and I think like it specifically says in the show is the 25th annual Putnam County Spelling Bee, written by the late William Finn. He passed away last week or the week before.
Oh, dang, I
Uh,
didn't know that.
yeah, like right in the middle of the run of our little show. Yeah. God West his wee wee bones. Amen.
Okay, Elmer Fudd.
Oh shit. What are we talking about? Bad Boys. We're talking about movies. This is an interesting film. This is like the third or fourth Bad Boys. Let me think. I think it's I
This
think
is
it's
the
the
third
third Bad
one.
Boys. Yeah. And I don't know about you. We talked about this briefly, but I haven't seen only been like I've seen like flashes of the other Bad Boys on cable, I think. But other than that, I've never seen the other Bad Boys.
No, I've never seen Bad Boys.
Yeah, this one was suggested to me as an example of like modern like popcorn big budget action films done right. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it was suggested to me that you didn't need the context, which I mean, we'll get into it, but I didn't. I
Ugh,
enjoyed myself.
all
I would
right.
say overall. No, yeah. You
I
think?
mean, we'll get into
Did I
it,
leave
but
you high and dry?
no, there was some. I mean, we'll get into it, but I was gonna ask you. I was like, is this on the list of all movies worth watching? Like you need to watch this before you die. Because I was like, are you
Well, I
telling
guess
me
that's
Bad Boys for Life is on the you must watch this movie before you die list? Because I was like real shocked.
well, I mean, I don't know. I guess that is for us to decide. We'll go through the whole thing, and then at the end we'll pass judgment, and we'll let people know whether or not it is worth watching or not. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm on the fence, but I watched it with Erica, who I think had maybe seen one and a half of the other Bad Boys. She's like, maybe I saw a Bad Boy once, and
A bad boy.
yeah, she has made similar faces to the faces that you were making as you were as you were trying to like be kind of my little feelings, my little action boy, police action thriller film feelings. Yeah, I would just say in general, like I don't like I can't I can name I could probably put on one hand how many Michael Bay films I like. And Michael Bay is the guy who is sort of at the heart of Bad Boys, at least originally. There are in the last two films, because this is not the final film. There was one in 2024, Bad Boys
Ride or Die or Ride for Life.
Ride or
something.
Die.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right. All I can ever remember is that it's not Bad Boys for Life because it should be Bad Boys for Life. Like they really screwed the pooch on that one.
They screwed up.
But yeah, this is directed by Adil El Arbi and Bilal Fallah, who are Moroccan-Belgian film and television directors. I've heard them talk on a couple of podcasts. They're just kind of like millennial dorks who grew up watching things like Die Hard. You know, like the classics and like the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies, you know?
Mhm.
And so I would say that like Michael Bay as a filmmaker doesn't particularly interest me, but like these guys as millennials trying to reinterpret something that was like important to them as children, I think is like at least an interesting exercise. Required watching, I don't know, but an interesting thought experiment, and how I'd rather see people use maybe how I'd rather see people use millions of dollars of a budget as opposed to, you know, giving Michael Bay an opportunity to do Michael Bay's thing again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I agree with that. I liked most of this movie. Like my grievances with Bad Boys for Life are petty and specific. But I am someone who really enjoys like popcorn movies. Like I recently watched all of the Mission Impossible movies with the exception of the one that's coming out. Like I'm working through the Daniel Craig James Bond movies. So like this is right up my wheelhouse. I like movies like this. But
Yeah.
they did some things that I was like, why? But like we'll get into it. But yeah, I think you could tell that it was made by someone who appreciates the genre. And yeah, I thought that came through. So
Yeah, you can feel the love. And it's kind of nice because there's so many of these big budget action films where you like can't feel that, you know?
yeah,
Where it just feels like an excuse to watch, I don't know, technically impressive choreography or lots and lots of gunfire in a way that like, you know what I mean? Like doesn't typically hold my interest. Like I'm not a like I haven't seen the last 3 or 4 Fast and the Furiouses. Like that doesn't do anything for me, but the Mad Maxes do. Not that I didn't watch Mad Max when I was a kid because it was pitched to me as like an crazy action thing, and I was like, oh, that doesn't sound particularly interesting to me. But the way that it like sort of it plays out, those George Miller films are so specific.
Yeah.
You know, they're of a specific world in a way that's like, oh, this is you know just crazy interesting. You know, and in the same way, I mean, you know, maybe that's pushing it a little bit, but Bad Boys has that same sort of a thing where there's a specificity to it, at least in my mind, that's coming from these, you know, these kids who grew up on these classic 90s and early 2000s action films. You know, they figured out like the ways to, I don't know, to keep the heart of it alive in a way where like even the same filmmakers, when they're doing their third or fourth versions of these movies, sometimes miss the mark entirely in a way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to go through the plot of Bad Boys for Life?
Guide me through the plot of Bad Boys for Life.
I will be your Sherpa through the psychedelic odyssey that is Bad Boys for Life. Oh my God. Okay. Thank you again, Wikipedia, for doing all the hard work. If you guys have an issue with any of this plot summary, you know, take it up with Wikipedia, okay? All right. 17 years after Johnny Tapia was taken down by Miami PD detectives Mike Lowry and Marcus Burnett, Isabella Areda's widow of, wait, hold on a second. Okay, so sorry, it's throwing a bunch of information that I didn't necessarily need to know at the beginning. 17 years after Johnny Tapia was taken down by the Miami PD. So that's somebody, I think that's from an earlier film.
That's Bad Boys 2.
So is like the revenge. This is the revenge for Bad Boys 2.
This is the revenge from Bad Boys 1.
Oh, this is the revenge for what happened in Bad Boys 1.
Yeah.
Gotcha. See, now this stuff, I understand why it's there, but I like didn't need any of it. Like the storytelling was clear enough. I mean, we'll jump into this, but I just knew that, these guys had fucked up in the past. They had been like awesome action cops, and this cartel was out for blood.
Yeah.
But anyway, Isabella Reyes, widow of cartel kingpin Benito, escapes from a Mexican prison with the aid of her son Armando. Isabel sends Armando to Miami, tasking him with recovering a substantial stash of money Benito has hidden, as well as assassinating the people responsible for his arrest and eventual death in prison. Isabel also demands Armando kill Mike last. Okay, so this to me is skipping like a whole bunch of stuff. Like this skips the whole opening action through the streets of Miami opening sequence
when they're
where
racing to the hospital.
yeah, they're racing and you don't really know where, and then it shows, and then the bit is that they arrive at the hospital to see which one is it? Is it Marcus?
Yeah.
Which one's Mike and which one's Marcus?
So Will Smith is Mike. Yeah, Will Smith is Mike.
Will is Mike, Martin's Marcus.
Yeah.
I'll have to do it by syllables. I'll probably screw it up a bunch. Anyway, Marcus is a granddaddy, and so he rushes there and then cries with his baby in his arms. And then we go into this, like, I thought really, really fun, elaborate prison break sequence where they start a prison riot and they stab the crap out of this woman and then they switch bodies with her and put the corpse in a washing machine. They don't discover that until the bodies are way out. And then they did this really, really nice one-er shot, like all in one take inside the ambulance where they like show the two up front getting shot and then they pan around and they show the lady who's supposed to be dead jumping up and like slashing the throat and then opening the door and like the reveal of the son. It's something that like there was an economy to it that was really cool that reminded me of like Predator and Die Hard and some of those movies. I don't know. It just got me excited. I was like, oh, these are people who know what they're doing, and we're gonna get to watch them blow shit up for the next hour. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was slick. For sure.
Yeah. How did you feel about it?
So this is the introduction. When Isabel is breaking out of prison, this is the introduction to her Santa Muerte practice, which is her like Latino. I think they describe it as like Latino voodoo thing, but she worships the saint of death, and that becomes some kind of like stupid recurring theme throughout this movie. I did not like that. I thought it was because to me it was pointless. It never amounted to anything. It like never became important other than to be like, oh look, she's like eccentric, like she might be a little unstable. But like, so they start off this prison break scene because she's standing there like praying or chanting or doing some like mystical thing, which I think is kind of intended to lead us to believe that she's like influencing stuff by doing her prayer or whatever. And then like the prison riot starts. But I was like, oh, let's not do this. Let's like, she can just break out of prison. I don't think we need to be like, oh, God of death, break me out of prison. So yeah, but other than that whole sequence was very slick. It reminded me of Silence of the Lambs when Hannibal Lecter like takes that guy's face and puts on his uniform and gets out.
Yeah.
I think he rides out like in the ambulance as well, which she escapes and through the ambulance, but
right, sort of a similar vibe.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, no. I loved it. I had no problem with the witch stuff. I mean, I didn't really clock it until they were like actively talking about it in the third act, where Martin Lawrence was like,
"She's a bruja.
You fucked a married witch? Really, bro?"
Yeah. Will Smith is like, "She's a bruja. She's a witch." He's like, "You fucked a married witch?" Yeah.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, personally, like I said, I liked it. It was worth that just for that run of like him shaming him for having sex with a witch, but no less a married witch. You know? I dug that. Anyway, back to the plot. In Miami, Mike accompanies Marcus to the birth of his first grandson. Oh, we already talked about that. That happened at the beginning. Marcus wants to spend more time with his family, so he tells Mike he intends to retire. To Mike's chagrin, during a foot race against Marcus to prove who is faster, Mike is shot by Armando and left in a coma for months. Yeah, so that was where. So in that we saw Joey Pantalone,
Uh-huh.
as the like. Do you remember the title off the top of your head? What he was? I mean, he had like a weird uncle vibe, and then like that mixed with the police chief sort of standard, like you're activating my sciatica, like I have 5 days till retirement sort of a thing,
Yeah, he's the captain. He's the captain of the police
Yeah,
force.
yeah.
But yeah, he definitely has that like cartoony syndicated television. Like at one point, he like literally chugs from a bottle of Pepto, and you're like, oh, okay, this is a throwback to like cop TV. Like,
Man,
yeah, but he's
I dug
really
it
good
though.
at
He was
it.
having
Yeah.
he was having fun, and I dug it.
Mhm.
Um, then they had this foot race, and the foot race was it is about to prove who's faster, but it was also like the deal was that Marcus could retire if he won, and then if Mike won, they had to like keep going on adventures.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pretty loose. Yeah, no, I thought that shooting was brutal for me. I was sitting there with Eric, and both of us were like, "Oh!" when he hit the pavement, man, like it hit.
Yeah, and this is that the kind of the second instance of that like super slick action movie shit where like he rides up on the motorcycle. He does that like nose wheelie stop. He like hits the brakes so hard that the bike comes up on the nose, and then he whips out his Uzi and like shoots Will Smith from the bike. And I was like, oh, okay, so he's a Navy SEAL. He's like the cartel's version of a Navy SEAL.
No, see, that's what I loved that. I wrote down the gangsters are secret ninjas. I was like I love that we're like playing. If we're gonna play in that stupid world, at least we're like, I don't know. I get that
it's a piece of it that's like, it's what elevates it is when like the bad guys are not just like gangbangers. They're very skilled and very dangerous. But that was a note that I put down about it. I was like, why are all the cartel members expert knife fighters and snipers and hackers? Like, how are all like what super secret cartel military school are they going to like do this? Because I mean, we can get into this a little later, but some of that hurts my suspension of disbelief for movies where I'm like, are you? You're a long range trained sniper and an expert motorcycle rider and an expert like marksman, and you're an expert knife fighter. Oh, and not to mention you're like a deep web hacker. Like, hold on, guy. Like get a team. Like if you had a team, sure. But when you're just like, the cartel superhuman doing all of the stuff, I'm like, all right. Like,
I guess, man. But I mean, the thing that comes to mind when you start talking about a team, I see the Fast and the Furious group, and that is like they're like jumping cars into space and jumping cars off of each other, doing you know what I mean?
they get
like,
pretty damn close to some stuff like that in here.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like, I think they have to, like, if you're gonna make a modern blockbuster, it has to be like up in that realm. You know what I mean? It's like a thing that you have to deal with. If you're gonna be making an action film now, your characters have to be, there has to be like some element of almost superhumanness just to keep up with like Marvel movies. You know what I mean? Like it's not like directly in conversation with it, but it is because they're both action adventure films, right?
Yeah. I think there is something about that for me though, in a stylistic thematic thing where like the reason I don't really like superhero movies is I cannot relate to them. I'm not superhuman. I'm not whatever. That's Martin Lawrence, who's like a middle-aged cop. I can kind of relate to that. Like it's fun to be like they're normal cops I mean, it's Will Smith, so it's never normal, but like for the most part, they're normal Miami detectives up against like, the Navy SEALs of the cartel. And so that's kind of what that clash is like, regular versus superpower, but there's also, I don't know. I mean, just kind of a lack of, not realism, because I didn't go into Bad Boys for Life expecting realism, but like just at some points it elevates it just a little too much for me, where I'm like, all right, yeah. Like, can we get back to like doing some actual like regular action movie stuff? And I think that's something Granted, this is not a perfect hypothesis because I want to go back and watch Bad Boys 1 and 2 and see how much like big blockbuster stuff we get. Granted, Bad Boys, I think the first one came out like right around when the first Men in Black came out. It was like 95, 96, like really young Will Smith. So, but also
Yeah, let me
like
look here.
movies in that time period.
95.
Yes,
Sorry
I
to cut
think
you off.
Men in Black was 96, 95, 96. So, like right in that time period. And movies back then were not as like big blockbuster jump a dirt bike into a helicopter thing as they are now. So I want to see how much that tone changes from like gritty cop movie to action blockbuster Will Smith, you know? Or like
Yeah.
just in that just over the 25 years or 30 years since then, see how much
Yeah.
has changed. But I was
Yeah,
some
for
of it I was
sure.
like, is this in keeping with the tone of the movies? But I haven't seen the other two, but it felt a little like sometimes for me.
Well, yeah, for sure. And it like this is the first Bad Boys since 2003 was when they
Yeah.
made the second one. You know what I mean? So like it's definitely not going to I love the idea of like tone policing this one to like match the tone of like a film that we haven't seen. We're like, I don't know, doesn't match the gritty realism of that other movie that I assume is gritty and
Well,
real.
I'm just assuming from like the time period of like,
Yeah,
mid
yeah, yeah.
like that early mid 90s like crime
Yeah,
movies
totally.
like
Like
which tended
if
to
I was
be
watching a Michael Bay film in 1995, what kind of film am I watching? It's going to
right.
be, it's not going to be as silly as this. It's going to be sexist probably, and it's going to
Yeah.
be like really exploitative in that way, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's going to be just because they weren't at that point yet where like computer animation where they could just like do anything, you know.
Right.
You can't just like sit them in front of a green screen and have their wounds explode or whatever, you know.
Yeah, and I'm a part of me wonders, and I'm getting way tangential on this, so I apologize, but part of me wonders like how much of the onus of carrying the movie shifts from having like Will Smith and Martin Lawrence carry it like as actors versus allowing the action to bear a lot of the load of the storytelling. You know what I mean? When like when you can't do as much special effects and things, you have to have a better story. You have to have better acting. So I'm curious to see if that keeps up.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, the other thing is that like these are movies that are like written around two movie stars in a way that
Hmm.
like Marvel movies don't do that.
Right.
They specifically have stuff that like the producers essentially direct. They're like whole big action sequences that like the Marvel company directs to keep like a version of like sameness,
Hmm.
you know? Like I sort of understand why they would want that a sense of uniformity across the universe, but at the same time, like that's like it just is like poison to a film for me because like what I'm going into if I'm really going to enjoy a film is that I get lost in its specificity. You know, it's telling me a
Sure.
story that like maybe it speaks like really, maybe it speaks like directly to my heart, or maybe it's just something that I don't ever consider very often. But the stuff that feels transformative, I get lost in, you know.
Hmm.
And if your thing is like, don't worry, audience, this is going to be like 90% of the stuff you've seen before, you know. No matter what director we give it to, it's going to basically look like a Marvel film.
Yeah.
I just am already checked out. Just boring.
Sure.
Yeah. Wow, we have not talked about this movie much.
Sorry.
No, it's yeah. How dare you? No, Mike got shot. Oh, wait. I have other tangential things. By the way, tell me if I'm off base with this. Am I being crazy, or is Will Smith being a dick not as fun as it used to be since the slap? You know, the like.
Oh yeah, sure. It's like this would have been pre-slap this movie came out, but
Mm-hmm.
and also to be fair, I've not watched like a lot of Will Smith movies. So this is kind of the only experience with Will Smith that I'm used to. Like I haven't seen The Pursuit of Happiness or 7 Pounds or any of those like heavy ones that he, got a lot of accolades for. I've only pretty much seen the Will Smith being a dick in an action movies.
Yeah.
Shout out to Wild Wild West. That's a classic. Um, so it was a little not tired, but I don't know. After 30 years, it got a little shticky where I'm like, oh yeah, he's gonna have a remark for everything type of thing, and I just
Yeah,
didn't think he was as funny.
Yeah, his attitude. It was hard. And I literally think that I would not have this opinion if I hadn't watched him slap Chris Rock.
Sure.
I think it has a lot to do with it where I'm like, where do you get off, dude? Like,
Yeah.
you're a millionaire. Quit being an asshole about even the fictional situation that you're in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. You said you've seen Men in Black, right? Have you seen
Yeah.
the sequels? The Men in Black 2 and
I've
Men in
seen
Black
1
3?
and 2. I haven't seen 3.
Yeah. There's a like a spin-off, like they tried to restart a sequel like Men in Black International that doesn't even have them in it. But okay, so you've seen 2. So like 2 has this sort of the same problem where like Men in Black 1, Will Smith is a dick, but he's also like constantly getting the rug pulled out from underneath him because he's like learning about aliens and you know what I mean? So he's constantly being served humble pie. And you get into Men in Black 2 and he takes the Tommy Lee Jones role. And so he's like old and pissed off.
Yeah.
And it's just not fun. Like, and they do it for all the way through 3 too. Like it's just a bad, I just don't like when he's playing that. You know what I mean? Like he's always has this look in his eyes like he's gonna call somebody a fucking idiot. You know?
Sure.
Like he's gonna make an intern cry. It's like, no, thank you. Life's too short.
Yeah.
Let's see. Mike is shot by Armando again. He's left in a coma for months, chastised by Isabel for targeting Mike first because he had to die last, she said to her baby boy. Armando continues to assassinate other targets on his list during Mike's convalescence. Yeah, I thought that murder montage was pretty slick.
Mm-hmm.
And then right into the what was it? The good die job. Oh, yeah. It was the murder montage right into the shot of Martin Lawrence dyeing Will Smith's beard in the coma. Like he's like leaning over with a comb.
Midnight cocoa bean. Yeah.
Yeah. I just thought the timing on all of that was great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Following Mike's recovery, he is determined to seek revenge and unsuccessfully attempts to recruit a now retired Marcus. I thought him just fucking around at home and being retired was so funny.
Mm-hmm.
I love Martin.
Martin Lawrence is so funny. Hard. Like I was reminded like that's a funny dude. And I have not seen a lot of Martin Lawrence movies, but I was like, when he was on screen were like my favorite moments. I was like, he is a genuinely very funny guy. Like Will Smith had some one-liners that were like pretty good. But for the most part, Martin Lawrence was like delivering. Like he was funny, genuinely funny for the majority of the movie. They had this bit like, so they did this really interesting thing. It got me for a damn second because I was like, no way. There's no way. Because so after Will Smith gets shot, they do this this scene where it looks like they're pulling out to a funeral because Martin Lawrence is sitting in this chair with his family and he's crying. And it turns out to be his daughter's wedding, and Will Smith is there in a wheelchair. But I was like, "There's no way they killed Will Smith. Like, there's no way." But they had me for a second. I was like, "Maybe,
yeah, but
maybe."
it's totally. But it's like the third movie, and it's been in 20 years. So like, who knows? Who knows what the rules are? Like, I just think that the directors are so smart to like be playing with stuff like that. Because, you know, like in Bad Boys 2, obviously that would not play. Like that wouldn't work, obviously. No. But, you know, Bad Boys 3, where it's like, these guys are old and maybe they don't want to be doing this forever. Like maybe we watch the second half of this without Will Smith.
Well, exactly. And I think some of that's foreshadowing because that's also the scene later because Will Smith gets out of the wheelchair. He delivers a speech to to Marcus's daughter. And then they have this scene like backstage at the wedding where Mike is like, "Yo, I got to go get him. You and me, bad boys for life. We ride or die. You know, we're gonna ride this out. You got to go help me get this guy." And Marcus is like, "Yo, it's my daughter's wedding, dude, and I'm retiring." And that's where he gets into the whole like, we're too old for this, and that's the whole I'm retiring. We're too old for this. Like we can't be doing this shit. And Mike pleads with him, and Marcus is like, "No, I'm not doing this," and he goes on with his retired stuff. And I was like, that was a good scene. Like,
yeah, no, it like laid out all the stakes really nicely, and it was like, this is, I mean, every time I watch one of these old like legacy sequels where they bring somebody out of retirement, I think about that stuff too, where like you know what I mean? It's the subtext of the whole thing. It's like, you guys are so damn old. You guys have been doing this for so long. Yeah, so I agree. It was powerful. It was moving, you know, in a way that like I don't expect from action films anymore. So I was pleasantly surprised. Anyway, so that's them having that falling out. An informant gives Mike the identity of arms dealer Booker Grossi, Realizing that Mike will not heed orders to avoid the investigation, Captain Conrad Howard reluctantly allows him to work with the tech-driven team in charge. Excuse me, the tech-driven team that's in charge, which is the Advanced Miami Metro Operations, or AMO, led by Mike's ex-girlfriend, Lieutenant Rita Sakata.
So there's a funny bit there where Mike immediately goes rogue and he goes to this butcher shop where the butcher is DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled. Right. And he does some like old school cop shit where he like breaks his hand and handcuffs him to a table to get the Booker Grassy information from DJ Khaled. And he goes back to the police station and Joey Pants is like, he's like, I'm not going to be able to keep you off this investigation. Fine. Come on. You're on ammo. You're a consultant. And the first thing Will Smith does is stop consulting. Like, he was like, I can't stop you from investigating this on your own. So I'm just going to put you on the team. And, but it's like no fight. He like immediately is like, oh, fine, whatever. Pepto.
Yeah, totally. It's just like, we're already into it. We're in the second act. Let's hurry up. Yeah. 2 things I wrote down about that DJ Khaled scene. Number 1, I love that weird purple. It was like that suit that Will Smith was wearing. It was like purple, but on the edges, it like had like a holographic where like the light would hit it and it would change color. I was like, that was so kind of cool.
Iridescent a little bit.
Yeah, very cool. And then I wrote, if I have to watch DJ Khaled, at least I'm watching him get tortured.
Yeah, I like he busts in that room and it's DJ Khaled and he looks exactly like DJ Khaled. Like they just pulled that dude off the street and slapped an apron on him. And he was like, yo, Mike, it's like, I don't know. And he breaks his hand. And I was like, I was waiting for him to be like, DJ Khaled. Like, after getting his hand smashed, I was like, man, they put this dude in this movie. Like, how much did he pay to be in this movie? Like, he's got to have a feature in Bad Boys for Life. But I didn't hate it, but I did roll my eyes at DJ Khaled.
I did too, but then he immediately was like started fucking him up, and I was like, "That's the exact response." I think you knew that I was gonna roll my eyes when you saw him, and you're like, "All right, well, you don't like that guy, I don't like him either. Watch me punch him in the face for 2 minutes."
Yeah, he hits him. He breaks his hand with that butcher's hammer. It was brutal.
That's that kind of bread and circus that I'm talking about, man. These guys know how to serve it up.
Mm-hmm.
So while the team is surveilling Grassi at an arms deal, Mike intervenes after determining the buyers intend to kill Grassi, but he fails to save him. That's that part where they bring in that drone and they have that shot where like you're following around the drone like it's a character, and that bummed me out only because like I don't want to care. I don't want to pretend like I care about a drone robot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They like give him a name and everything. I don't remember. It's like Fat Polly or Little Polly or something like that.
I don't remember.
I don't remember. It's something dumb, but he has like a name and they're trying to like. They're trying to make me feel things about their little robot friend. And I'm like, it's never going to happen. Never, ever, ever going to happen. Don't try. But that's that part where that guy gets like blown into a
forklift. Like
a forklift, right? He's like impaled by that forklift.
Yeah.
Will Smith keeps being like, we got to get a doctor in here now. And he's like impaled on that forklift. He's like, no, we can't let him die.
Yeah.
Look, fucking.
And that's another one of those cool instances of old school versus new school. Because one of the things that Marcus says to Mike is like, you're not gonna stop until someone gets killed. Like, because one of the things that why they're bad boys is that they have a body count. Like they kind of lead with violence, and but like Mike goes out with ammo to survey because they just drive this crawfish truck directly into the parking lot of this plant where this illegal arms thing is going down. I was like, did they seriously drive this right into the parking lot? Like if those people would have opened the door, they would have been like, yo, whose seafood truck is this? But so they drive it right into the parking lot. And then the first thing Mike does is disobey. The first thing he does, he's like, yo, that bag's empty. I'm going in. All those guys with machine guns, I have a standard issue cop pistol. I'm going in. And then like everybody gets killed, just like everybody said would happen.
Yeah, there's that great part afterwards where the captain is dressing him down and he's like, what did I say? You couldn't kill anybody. I can't even remember exactly what it was. But he's like, I didn't do this. And he's like, did you shoot people? He's like, well, you know I shot people. Yeah. Come on, man.
Yeah. He's like, I shot
that stuff
people.
Is pretty fun. Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
Who are you talking to?
Yeah.
Later, Marcus is called by Carver Remy, which is an old informant who believes the assassin is after him too. Marcus and Mike travel to Carver, but he is killed as they arrive. So there were a couple of things in that section that I thought were pretty good. Oh wait, I gotta back it up. There's a part where there's like a new hip young guy on the ammo team that's like giving attitude to Will Smith, and this is probably my least favorite part of the film. Um, oh God, what did that guy called him? I think he called him a motherfucker, and then he said something to the effect of, just because I fucked your, just because. No, he called him a grandpa. He
Yeah.
called Will Smith a grandpa, and he said, just because I fucked your mother doesn't make me your grandpa. And I wrote down, fucking their mother under any circumstances would not make you their grandpa. Like that makes no sense at all.
It was a weird joke. I was like, I get it, but I was like, it's an
And he was like, I
odd.
get that you don't want to talk about fucking his grandma, but if you
Yeah.
don't want to talk about fucking his grandma, then write something else. Like, don't like
Yeah.
make me think about fucking his mama being his grandpa.
Yeah, and
that's a
it's-
worse situation.
And that their interaction is so weird. I was like, I don't think we need this character interaction where this one agent, it's this like buff young Asian or Pacific Islander guy, and the whole thing he does is just razz Will Smith. Like that's like all he does is just like give Mike Lowry shit about how old he is. That's like all of their interactions.
You didn't like the dynamic of him being like replaced by like a hip young new Mike. Like that's what I thought that was. That guy's like, here's like, hey, I'm here to be the new you, so you can go home, you can retire.
Oh,
And him just like kicking back.
Yeah, that didn't read for me. But I was just like, God, why do they? It's like every movie has this. There is
Yeah.
one other thing. It's this they're like tech guy who's like the biggest buffest of all of them, but he's like, oh, I hit someone once and I'm sad about it, so now I'm into computers. But he does this thing where he's like, they're trying to figure out the manufacturer who made the bullets that shot Mike, and he's like, yeah, we're over here, we're cross-referencing 4chan, and I was like, you're what? I was like, rewind, you're doing what? I was like, no, this movie did not just mention 4chan.
They're
Like,
hacking the deep web.
yeah,
Bear with
like,
them.
we're cross-referencing 4chan. Like, oh my god, you guys
Yeah,
are
well, I mean,
millennials.
There was that thing where like the video of Will Smith getting shot got
Went
like
viral,
uploaded
yeah.
to the dark, but it went viral on the dark web before it went on to other things. And it's like, no, he would have just uploaded it to YouTube under like a
Yeah.
fucking ghost account,
Yeah,
and it would have been fine.
yeah.
It's like you guys are putting extra spin on this, maybe just to like wow the 60-year-olds that are in charge of the money
Mhm.
in Hollywood. You know, they're like, we know what computers do.
Yeah. There was also one thing I meant to mention when you were talking about like Armando going on his murder montage. Homie's just Googling his targets. He just like has his
I thought that
laptop
was pretty
and
good.
he's just punching in names and being like, okay, I'm gonna go kill that guy. And I was like, no one can put this together that every time this guy gets Googled, he gets killed. Like no one's doing this.
I love the part where he like Googled his dead father to like read articles about his dead father, and I was like, "Who Googles their dead father?"
Yeah, but he's
what
like,
a weirdo. I loved it.
He's like, for you, Papa. So this is dumb.
Oh man, I laughed hard at the baby in the back seat.
Oh, little
I laughed-
Marcus, yeah.
Yep, I laughed hard about them sneaking little Marcus into the spa, and just leaving him there with the mom. I thought that was great. I laughed really hard at them turning around and going up the stairs and Carver crashing into the van, and them just doing that thing where they like refuse to turn around and acknowledge that they missed him by that much.
Yeah, he gets tossed off
So
the
good.
roof and lands on his wife's minivan. So good.
So good. Oh man. Yeah. So that guy died, and Armando, they have a fist fight with Mike, and they do that thing where he like rips off. I didn't understand this until they talked about it in the third act, but he like ripped off his bike helmet, and they like looked at each other in the eyes.
Yeah.
And I think we're supposed to be like, oh, they have the same eyes.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be later on be like, oh, Papa and Father in the same.
Yeah.
But you know, for me it was like, oh, what are we doing? This is homoerotic, at least at the beginning. Anyway, Captain Howard later reveals his intentions to retire, advising Mike that he needs to find a path forward in life. Moments later, Armando abruptly assassinates him, thus ending the life of Joey Pants. And that's the assassination, because I think Joey Pants has been the captain with them the entire time.
Mhm.
And so I think that's like the death that we thought that was going to be when Will Smith, and then they cut to the funeral and they cut to what looked like the funeral and they faked like it was the wedding, you know?
Yeah.
It's like they still got to give him a dead body. We got to change everything up. And so got to get rid of Mr. Pants. The captain's death puts Marcus out, or excuse me, it pulls Marcus out of retirement, but he convinces Mike to work as a team with Ammo. They track down Grassy's accountant, who leads them to Lorenzo Zuelo, Lorenzo Zuelo Rodriguez. But let's go back because I want to talk about the. First off, you have Grassy's accountant, who was like the meth head accountant in that motel room that they were like boxing. I love that. I love the idea that Marcus is coming out of retirement, but he's like given up by violence. He's like a non-violent pacifist.
Well, he makes a deal to God after Mike gets shot. He's like, hey, yo, God, I know I don't go to church, but if you will heal Mike, I promise not to put any more violence into the world. So
Yeah,
Marcus comes back into the police force and he's like, yo, I'm going to do everything as a pacifist, non-violently. So he goes up to talk to that accountant who's like, I think he like does a line of coke as we walk in or something. And he's like, I'm gonna reach out to his heart. I'm gonna, poke a hole in his spirit with my heart or something like that.
Penetrate his soul with your heart.
That's what
I remember.
it is,
I was
yeah.
like, penetrate.
Yeah.
Why do you have to penetrate it? Anyway.
But yeah, he's like, I'm gonna connect to him man to man, and then he just keeps getting punched in the face.
And then he lets Mike take care of it. And then they bring in Ammo because he called in Ammo. He doesn't really like convince Mike to work with the Ammo. He just like calls Ammo.
He just keeps
like,
calling them. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, they're gonna be here, so you have to work with them.
Yeah.
Infiltrating Zuelo's birthday party. This is where they go to the club, and you have everybody in those everybody dressed to the nines. Let me see here. There was something. What was it? Erica hated Will Smith's jacket in this scene.
I don't remember it.
Not for anybody's note. It was like it was black and it had some sort of a gnarly not gnarly, but just like a flashy pattern sort of a thing, sort of a fringed out sort of a thing. Anyway, Erica hated it, but she loved. What did she say? Where is it? Man, I can't find it.
Was it Rita's dress?
Yeah, it was Rita's dress. She was like, she gave it a damn.
Yeah, she got like a gold skin tight dress.
Yeah, yep, that was it. Oh yeah. At Paula Nunez, a damn. But yeah, and then hated Will Smith's jacket. Yeah, so they're dressed up to a party because it's Zuelo's birthday party, and so they're infiltrating that. That leads to a destructive car chase. And that was the scene where they shoot Zuelo with that non-lethal rubber bullet, and then they have those whole bits about like how it really 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 fucked him up.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another thing that like Erica in particular, what did she say? She said that showing how lethal non-lethal weapons can be might just be the greatest thing that Bad Boys have ever done. Like she's really into that as like a political stance, like the idea that like, oh, they're using non-lethal bullets on protesters, so it's fine. The idea that like, you know, they can really 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 fuck you up. So like them making a joke out of it and like touching his head wound and being like, oh, I can't believe we did that with non-lethal weapons. Yeah, you know, was kind of a fun way to educate. You know, a fun way to make a point.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, you don't have to. It's in your brain. Subconsciously, yo. Anyway, then we have Armando arrives in a helicopter to rescue Zuelo, but kills him when he blocks Armando's way to shoot Mike. And as he lines up for the shot, Armando tells Mike, "Hasta el fuego." Gunfire from Marcus creates cover for Mike, who falls into the ocean below. Oh yeah, he had that like sidecar with that gun, that gigantic chain gun that like popped out of it. Yeah, he had that line. What did he say? He was digging around in there and kept pulling out guns. And what did he say it was? Was it like a white man's? Oh man, what was it? I gotta find it. Hold on. It was so funny. It's like an angry white man's basement in here.
Yeah, he pulls out a sawed-off shotgun, and then he has a grenade, and then there's like an M60 in this, like a mounted machine gun in this motorcycle sidecar.
God, and then they have that whole conversation where like Will Smith convinces him to use that gun because God gave him the gun. That is God's gun.
Yeah, you so, are like, a vehicle for the Holy Spirit or something like that.
I thought that was pretty great too. Oh yeah. Ammo is shut down because of the failed operation, and in private, Mike reveals to Marcus that Armando may be his son. Yeah. He explains, and does this all happen on the plane ride to Mexico, or does it happen before?
Before.
Okay. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I just really like that they like sit and like talk and like move seats on that airplane. I think it's so funny. Anyway, Armando, the assassin, may be Will Smith's son. He explains that 24 years ago, before partnering with Marcus, Mike worked undercover in the Aretas cartel where he met Isabel, They fell in love and intended to run away together using Hasta el Fuego as a made-up secret catchphrase. Right, because it's Spanish, but it's Spanish for nonsense. Like, it doesn't really make sense.
Yeah.
Mike ultimately remained loyal to the police, realizing how dangerous Isabel would become. Despite Mike's opposition, Marcus and Ammo join him in Mexico City to confront her. So that's they have that whole experience where they lay everything out, where she was, not only was she working in the cartel, but she was a witch. And they're doing that part on the plane, because Will Smith is initially going to go by himself, and then Marcus buys a separate seat, and so they're like not sitting next to each other.
Mhm.
And they have that whole bit where they're like talking about fucking witches and stuff, but like through people. So they're like, you guys want to trade seats with me? And then like trading seats to get away from each other back and forth. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it was fun.
It was so much fun. I just had so much fun with stuff like that, in a way that, like, I don't have fun with action movies very often these days. I don't know. Maybe giggle, maybe smile. Yeah. Then in Mexico City at the abandoned hotel, which I wrote had a very final level. It felt very final level coded for me.
It was very dark,
You know what I
and
mean?
dirty and drab, and like,
We
Yeah.
walked in, and the first thing we did was just like establish the whole scope of it, and like looked up to see how tall it was, and saw the window where the helicopter was going to crash through. In my mind, I was like, this is done by people who have played so many video games that they like, they know that we know that we're about to enter the final level, and they're just like, I don't know. I thought they were taking advantage of that sort of understanding of the way, I don't know, the way that like video games, I mean, this might not be a purposeful thing, but to me it felt very video game coded, in a way that, like, a Spielberg might not have the same approach, because they didn't grow up playing video games, you know? I don't want to get too much into it, but there's that idea that like the way we take in our stories sort of reflects the way that we view all of life. Like, you and I are film kids, especially. We watched a lot of films growing up, and so sort of I don't know about you, but for me, sort of my go-to narrative is to think of myself as like the main character in a film. And for kids who grew up playing video games, a lot of them sometimes think of themselves as like a main character in a video game. That's where you get the NPC insults and things like that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. It just was like, it changes how you view the rest of the world, the primary way you take in your stories. It helps sort of like, define that for you. And these guys just felt, I was like, oh, this feels like a video game. These guys play video games. I like them. That's all. Mike meets Isabel at that abandoned hotel. He scolds her for concealing the truth from him. A shootout quickly ensues between Ammo and Isabel's men. Marcus shoots the pilot of Isabel's escape helicopter, causing it to crash and start a fire. That whole scene was pretty great. I don't know if we've gotten to it yet, but they have that moment where they like toss the gun, where Will Smith tosses the gun to Martin Lawrence in slow motion, and he like misses it by like a mile. He's like, "Put on your glasses." So goddamn funny. I laughed so hard.
He puts on his glasses and he's like, "Yo, it's like HD."
He's like, the first time he never put on his glasses ever. So
Yeah.
stupid, but so funny. Marcus confronts Isabel while Mark tells the truth to Armando. In a fit of rage, Armando beats on him, but he refuses to retaliate. He demands the truth from his mother, and Isabel confirms that Mike is his real father. Realizing the task he spent a lifetime for training for was a lie, Armando tries to reason with his mother, leading to Isabel inadvertently shooting him while aiming for Mike. And then she goes to shoot again. She's like going to shoot through him. I thought it was super important. She shot him, freaked out about it, and then realized that she'd already done it and was going to like shoot him a bunch more times to shoot Will Smith through her own son.
Yeah.
But Rita shoots her before she can. She falls to her death into the flames below. Pretty epic.
Yeah, they have a weird kind of like Norman Bates relationship that was very like, it was interesting, and I was also like, do we need this in 2020? Like, is this a thing? But I guess if they're playing off of that whole like, that's Will Smith's son, and devotion, like he was raised single-handedly for this mission, like it made sense. But I was like, do we need this? For sure. But
I think that it's talking about sort of plot lines and things. It's referencing plot lines and things from old movies that you and I don't have necessarily.
Yeah. I think some of that is the context that I was like, I don't understand why this is important. Like it would, like earlier in the movie, it was showing us the clips of like Benito Aretas, and I was like, who is that? I don't know who that is. And then it's like they do the reveal of it being Isabel in the ambulance at the beginning. I'm like, that's just some lady who was in that prison a minute ago. I have no context
Well,
for who
yeah,
she
but she
is.
was good at murdering.
Well,
That's
sure,
all you need to know.
she's good at murder,
She's
but I was
a
like,
scary crime
I
lady.
don't know who she, like why she's important. Like because there was no introduction to her, it was implying that we should already know who she is. You
I
know,
guess so, man. I just saw Scary Crime Lady and I went for it. And I was like, oh, well, if I'm watching Bad Boys 4 or 3 or whatever, she's probably the best crime lady, the best at crime ladying, you know? The most dangerous assassin of all the deadly assassins.
yeah, I guess my thought was that if she was a new character, we would have had like a nameplate on a door, like her prison
Sure.
cell that was like I. Aretas or something, just something to be like, this is who this is. But instead, we should have recognized her by her face, and I was like, I didn't.
For sure, for sure.
So I just like some context clues we didn't get because they're assuming that we've seen the other movies. Was my thought.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, she dies. Instead of telling us what's going on, she falls to her death into the flames below.
Yep.
And then sometimes later, Rita is promoted to captain while Mike and Marcus are placed in charge of ammo. Mike visits a remorseful Armando in prison and offers him a chance to earn some redemption for a new case, which he accepts. Yeah, and the only thing I'm thinking about at the very end, they're hanging out with the baby. I thought all that stuff was fun. The tech guy who's like big into therapy is like saying that therapy has gone well, and he suggests that everybody should go to group therapy. And they make a joke. They like step off to the side, and Martin and Will are like, "I'm never going to therapy."
Yes, I'm not going. I'm not doing that shit.
I was like, God damn it, go to therapy, you fucking fucks. Everybody would be better if you went to therapy.
Well,
I thought that was pretty funny.
The joke there was that when they're in the abandoned hotel and they're doing the firefight, the big guy who needs the therapy has the gun, and Will Smith is like, I'm gonna need you to hurt some people. I'll pay for the therapy. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna need it. And then like starts shooting people.
Yeah, and then they follow through. It's like not just a dumb one-liner. It's like we're gonna follow through with the logic of that. He's like been to therapy for a while and thinks everybody should go.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought it was funny. Like they like thought that was like a fun way to end these old guys be like, I'm never going to therapy.
Yeah, I'm not going
like,
to therapy.
That's why you're gonna be miserable, you fucking old fucks.
Yeah.
You boomer assholes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, I'm not going even once. Like,
yeah, it's like I'm never going.
Yeah.
It's like they're like patting themselves on the back for never ever going to therapy. Like they're being big and brave and cool for doing that. It's like you're such an asshole.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
That was good.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my last big laugh, and it was sort of like not necessarily with them. It was more at them, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good. Yeah. Yeah, and that thus concludes our journey through Bad Boys for Life. The final question remains, Jeff. Was this film worth watching? What do you think? Is this film worth watching? If you haven't seen it, if you've never seen a Bad Boys before, if this would be your first Bad Boy, would it be worth watching?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's a good movie. It's funny. It's engaging. It gives you enough context clues that you can piece it together, and then they info dump in that third act to give you all the context that you're missing if you're not picking it up. So it's like I didn't feel like I needed to have seen Bad Boys 1 and 2. It would have been helpful in some instances, like just a couple, but I think it works as a standalone if it's slightly clunky without the context. So yeah, I think it is definitely a movie worth watching, and it made me want to go watch the first two. Because I was like, if this is them when they're old, like I bet when they're young is probably maybe funnier. But I don't know. Maybe their comedic timing isn't as good in 95. But
and then the question is they've made a new one since this movie came out. I very specifically picked the one from 2020 because they have one that they released last year.
Oh boy.
Do you have any?
I will probably see it at some point for sure.
Erica had a pretty similar reaction. She was like, "That was pretty fun. That was okay." And I was like, "You ready to watch the next one?" And she was like, "There's another one."
Yeah.
She was so disappointed.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. I don't know that it's needed. Like I don't know where they're gonna keep going. This one had a nice finality to it at the end where they're like, I don't think they mentioned being retired again, but it had kind of like, okay, we've done our thing. Like, so if they had ended after this one, I felt like that would have been a wrap up. So maybe I need to see Ride or Die or whatever to see where they go. But
yeah, I don't know a ton about it. Here's what I do know. I do know that there's a big set piece with a gigantic albino crocodile. I know that there's a big portion of the movie where Martin Lawrence thinks God has made him invincible.
Okay.
and, and I know that there's some bit about them each bitch slapping each other that like ends with like them bitch slapping each other since before time, at the being like reincarnated as different people bitch slapping each other, like some really weird inside joke. That's all I know.
Okay.
Just little bits and pieces. Enough to keep me interested, but again, I could see Erica's eyes glazing over. I don't blame anybody for not going to check it out.
Yeah, I'm more interested in watching the originals, and maybe we'll
Yeah.
see if I get to ride or die.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah, I gotta say I enjoyed it. I would say that if you're a fan of action movies, and if you're a fan of like action movies when they were in their heyday, in the late 80s through the 90s, this is an interesting. It's an interesting addition to that conversation. If that's not going to float your boat, like if you don't, if you haven't seen Predator, if you haven't seen all the Terminators, if you're not a diehard fan, this is probably just one that you could, you're not going to like be a worse person for having missed Bad Boys for Life. But if you enjoy a good action flick and you kind of miss when they were done with some thought and some care in a way that like makes the films interesting and are less about like building continued worlds so that you can sell tickets to the not buy but sell tickets to the next thing and sell merchandise for characters, you know what I mean? This film didn't feel like it was interested in doing any of that. It was just interested in telling you a good story with people that you like, characters that you may have had a relationship with at some point. And I just thought it was a really good example of how to handle that situation. Yeah, I would watch it again. I don't think, I watched it with Erica and I don't think she would.
Yeah, I wouldn't watch it again soon, but
and I don't falter for it.
yeah. No, I liked it. It's like it was funny. It had some really good heartwarming moments, like particularly the banter between Martin Lawrence and Will Smith was really good in a lot of places. There were some moments where, and this is something I struggle with across the action genre, where like sometimes I think they just get up their own ass so much on like how much cool gun fu shit can we do that I check out of that a little bit. Like I can understand some cool like Navy SEAL commando shit. There's this one point where Vanessa Hudgens, she must knee slide 15 feet. Like she runs and does a knee slide while she's shooting a machine gun for like 15 feet. And then she has the barrel of the gun in this guy's stomach and she's just still shooting. I was like, she's a metropolitan police officer. She is a police officer for the city of Miami. No, like you're pushing it for me. Like I just just that kind of stuff takes me out. And there was a couple moments of that for me. And I was like, I don't like all the gun fu shit as much. That was one or two moments where it's just too much. Also, Will Smith running through that warehouse, he shot that pistol 100 times, did not change his clip one time, which is something is very common in action movies. But that's sidebar. One of the things I love so much about the John Wick movies, if you've never seen them, John Wick is constantly reloading his gun. Like they pay a lot of attention to making the gun action fairly realistic, and I really appreciate that. But I'm like, there ain't no way Will Smith just fired his 11 shot 9mm 57 times without ever reloading it. Like I count. Like that's something that for some reason sticks out to me where I'm like, he just fired that gun 20 times. There's no way,
Yeah, I feel you.
But if that stuff doesn't bother you, then this movie is aces.
Yeah. The new Bad Boy, don't go to it for a sense of a gritty realism of of police life on the streets of Miami. Definitely not what you're looking for if you're looking for that, for sure.
Also, I counted that they said Bad Boys for Life twice in the movie. After the first, they say it really early in the movie, like first couple minutes. They say, Bad Boys for Life, and then they fist bump. And I was like, I bet they say it again. And I think like an hour later, one of them, Will Smith, is like, but I thought we were Bad Boys for Life. So I only counted twice, but I kept track.
Yeah, but they have that part where all the rest of the members of Ammo try to sing the song and then they shut them down because they're like, you're doing the wrong version.
You're saying
like,
the lyrics
them.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, you're singing the classic. You're singing the classic lyrics, and we do the other version. And then later on, they have that where they sing. It's like Martin Lawrence is singing the old version to the baby,
Hmm.
and Will Smith is mad because he's like, we don't do that version anymore. That's
And then
not
he
the
does it
one.
again.
Yeah, it's like, but I don't even remember what he said, but it's the thing I always think of when I think of Bad Boys. Ba-ding, bang, bang, dang, bang, bang, ba-ding, bang, bang, ba-ding.
Yeah, it sounded just kind of like gibberish, like he just wasn't
Yeah,
saying words.
yeah, yeah. I think we should end it on that, Jeff. On that note. Ba-ding, dong, dang, ba-ding, dong, ba-ding, bong, dang, ba-ding.
It took me a minute to connect that Bad Boys was from the song. That took me. I was like, why are they called
Do you
Bad
think it was
Boys?
the other way around? They wrote that song for us
No,
back in
I
95?
just thought it was like just like an arbitrary like, oh, like we call that guy Predator because whatever, like Iceman or Maverick from Top Gun. I thought it was just like a nickname. I didn't realize that those characters pulled it from the song intentionally. I thought that was like a fun thing. I probably would know that if I'd seen the first two.
Well, you know what they say, Jeff. Ba-ding, dong, ding, ba-ding, bang, ding, dong, ding, ba-ding. Until next time, folks.
Oh, there it is.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
We'll catch you
there
next
it
month.
is.
Have a great one. We'll see you next time. I'm shutting stuff down.